It's us.
The Pretend Podcast.
Yeah, just when you thought it was the off season and you weren't going to get anything for 6 months.
That's right. We got a special bonus episode.
Oh, it's me, Gavin, and good old
Craig.
Hey!
That's me.
I didn't see you over there.
I just hiding on the other end of the couch.
But yeah, we kind of started thinking what kind of dinguses record like hours and hours of Star Wars talk occasionally, and then like a new movie comes out, and then they don't put out an episode.
Nothing. We can't do that to the fans, the legions of adoring fans.
Can't leave you hanging. So we figured what the world really needs now to pull us all together is 2 more people talking about the newest Star Wars movie.
Last Jedi. Yes.
So it's out. Spoilers are everywhere, and they're going to be all up in this episode.
Yeah.
So if you're into this, join us in our debates and our thoughts, because there's a lot to take in with this new movie. This isn't
People
like
seem to think so, yeah.
This
divisive.
This isn't the, this is New Star Wars Part 2.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that. And we want to share some of these ideas and bounce some ideas back and forth.
Yeah.
And, it's a very epic thing for people of our generation, I think, for a new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, pretty huge.
I'm sure, like, 10 more years from now, people will be so sick of Star Wars movies that they won't care about anybody talking. But for now, it's still a pretty mesmerizing thing that they're cranking these things out every year. And so welcome to our bonus episode of The Last Jedi on the Pretend Podcast. Man, that's a good place to put the new theme, man.
Yeah.
But so where do we start? Just overall feeling as you came out of the theater. What were you like?
I saw it later. Like, you saw it opening night, right?
Yeah.
I saw it, I didn't get to go see it for a couple of weeks after that. So I worked real hard at not being spoiled.
Mm-hmm. Anybody spoil anything?
I mean, little bits and pieces here and there, but I was able to dodge it for the most part.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I don't worry too much about it, because, if it's a good story, then sort of the journey is as important as the destination. But no major spoilers. And as I was leaving, I just really felt like, I think I texted you right at getting out of it, and like I would give it like a real solid 4, maybe a little more out of 5. Like, I really enjoyed it. I liked sort of the unexpected, for me anyway, sort of directions and outcomes.
Because they were pushing the twist, and like there's gonna be some shocking shit.
There's some stuff that you will never believe.
Yeah, so I was like, kind of went into it sitting there waiting for twists and crazy shit, and so yeah, I'm glad they all panned out for you. You were kind of cool with all the twists and
how about you? What was your sort of takeaway?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, it was definitely an epic night. Oh, we got the babysitter. We had a big dinner, and then even the build up to build suspense. It was great because there's a guy that I'm not too fond of that works at parking garages here in Asheville.
Oh no!
Yeah, like
Parking garage Bill.
I never even said it out loud.
I hate that guy.
Do you know him?
No.
We'll give him that name. I was like, it might be his name, but he's a very I don't know. I've just seen him, and I never even said anything to anybody. But every time I've like paid coming out of the parking garage, I'm like, well, that guy's kind of a dick, or
had some
kind
of. You guys may not know, Gavin he's pretty much okay with most everybody.
Yeah, a
little bit,
But this dude just always has rubbed me the wrong way, and sure enough, we park in this garage, we have this great dinner, we have tons of time, like somehow we worked it in, we're going to a 7:30 movie, but we ate dinner at like 5, so we had like tons of time.
Just time to kill.
Yeah, so we took it and we got in there, and we got at the parking garage to get out to go, like, maybe even have another beer somewhere before the movie. And, like, as soon as we're pulling out of the garage, like, there's a huge backup traffic jam in the parking garage. I'm like, what is happening? And
fucking parking garage
time is just ticking, and
fucking
I'm like,
shit up.
Somebody fucked something up. And I'm like, why don't they just open it? Clearly it's your fucking problem now. Just let everybody out. And I'm like, and I started thinking, I was like, who was in there when we came in? I was like, it's that guy. It's that
No!
And sure enough, he was there. And I was like, you bastard. And I was just like,
You're
venting to my wife, freaking
everything.
out. Like, like nerd factor's going through the roof. I'm like, if this son of a bitch stops me from seeing the opening sequence to this movie, and like I was freaking out, and then she's like, just calm down, it'll be fine, and we start fighting, and then everybody starts moving fast. And we see that son of a bitch walking out of the parking garage with like the little zip envelope of like paying out for the night. So he was just like cashing out or whatever. And it was. I don't know if it's directly his fault, but he just casually strolled by us. I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill him, Casey.
I'm getting out of the car.
And she's like, no. And sure enough, they did just open it, and they're like, just go, go, go. And that's why we were all moving. It was because they were letting us out. Like I was like, oh. So we're still like good on time, and we get down there, we get to the road, and there's a traffic jam on the last stretch. And, like, I start flipping out again, and Casey doesn't give a shit. My wife's like, whatever, you know, one of your Star Wars movies or whatever it is. Like, but then she could just tell that I'm losing it. So she fucking is a few beers in, probably, but legally, technically fine to drive.
Of course.
She goes in the turning lanes, all of them, and floors it.
Nice.
Like Han Solo. Fucking, I'm like, oh my god, what are you doing? And she's like, floors it, goes to warp speed, fucking takes a turn when it's like a very faint yellow. Like peeling in, and we get in there. I'm like, I love you. And she's like, I know. Wasn't quite that cool, but it was almost. But of course, then we get there with plenty of time to sit there and watch a half-hour worth of previews.
Just horrible previews. That's something that I was really impressed with. Like, all of the previews before it really looked bad. Just super boring.
Some bad
horrible
sci-fi, fantasy, horrible preview. But yeah, going back to your initial question, I had to just tell that pump-up story to... it was weird, because I, like, definitely enjoyed it and loved it and gave it a total thumbs up and was happy with it, like, while I was watching it. Definitely some stuff I'm like, that was weird. That was weird. But I left it with the feeling, and then my wife, of course, had the full negative things that she planted in my head after. But it wasn't totally her, because it was there too. Or it was one of the first time where I left the theater with like I definitely need to see it again. I have some stuff I have some issues with. I knew I liked it, but I didn't love it. Like, I feel like I was a little let down because I was expecting to love it, and I almost even let my guard down because I kind of went into Force Awakens being like super guard. I'm like, they're still gonna blow this somehow. They're gonna put too much computers and shit in it, and I was like convinced. I love that one too much. I think, and a lot of people had some issues with Force Awakens being kind of a rehash, whatever. But and I didn't have any of that problem. I felt like it had to do that. And really loved that one too much, I think. And then going into this, I was like more worried about the twist, I think, because I was like, if they do something stupid, but I didn't worry about any George Lucas-y shit, you know. And I felt like that kind of creeped back into this one a little bit. But I mean, overall, I was happy, and I feel like the prequels set the bar so fucking low that it'll Ray could have took a dump on somebody's face, and I'll be like, this is still great, you know?
This is great!
I'll see anybody do anything with a lightsaber, and it'll be fucking leaps and bounds better than the prequels. But as far as nerd picking it apart, I was like, oh yeah. And it was weird just having that kind of worried feeling in my stomach. I was like, well, did I just trick myself into liking this? Phantom Menace style? When I saw Phantom Menace the first time, I was like, maybe that was good when I left the theater.
I'm pretty sure that was awesome.
Owen was like, no, that sucked, dude. And I was like, no, I don't know. I mean, that lightsaber fight at the end was pretty rad. It's like, yeah, we watched 3 hours of shit, and it's like one cool lightsaber fight. I'm like, no, we didn't comprehend it because we were too passionate about it.
I will say, I definitively did not love it.
Yeah. I wasn't crying in this one. I was holding back tears when Han Solo died and shit.
Man.
I was in fucking Force Awakens deep. But this
that was a good ride. But they're different movies. I mean, obviously different movies. But the pacing of Force Awakens is just boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get time to stop and really think about it that much. And then so you just leave with this sort of with Force Awakens of this having taken this ride, and it's right after you get off that roller coaster, and you're just like, yeah, that was great, that was cool,
it's funny,
it was fun,
and even this one, I was just almost Star Wars boner in the sense of that opening sequence, just the start at the top of maybe picking it apart chronologically, like where it opens with the fucking battle scene, the star like a ship battle. Like we haven't had that in a Star Wars, so that was cool. Like where they just like
and where you really see the bomb. Like I think the Y wings are supposed to be bombers or something, but you never got to see any bombering,
actual bombs.
Yeah,
but even before all that, just like coming out blaring with the jokes, even were funny. Like that scene where Poe's like, "I want to talk to General Hux," and he's like, "This is General Hux. I'm Speed." He's like, "I'll wait." He's like, "Is he like not talking to me?" And he's like, "Wait." He's like, "We think he's fucking with you, sir."
It's real. I mean, it's like, real weird that in Star Wars universe that people also know what hold is.
Yeah. He's like, I'll hold. Yeah, it's like enough of that. Where I kind of would normally hate that, but like,
it worked. Yeah,
yeah, it was awesome because it was just like. Just seeing that humor, because General Hux is so like over the top, like ridiculous Nazi general.
He's like a total turd.
I am going to destroy your whole fleet. He's just like, cool. So I'll wait. He's just like,
and he's just like,
is he? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. It was all like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Kind of thing. And that was brilliant. I mean, you kind of got that with like Poe with Kylo Ren early on in the last movie where he was all like, "I can't hear you with your mask on," and shit like that, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's awesome." But yeah, I mean, just the full-on star battle was a cool entrance, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, I don't have to worry about any of that George Lucas-y shit because like all the X-wings look great, and you know, and everything was just like dirty and fucking gritty, and like the space battles weren't all stupid looking like they were in the prequels, you know? And, like, so it's like I don't know,
you just get just enough of the few, so really the one main character you see in that battle before she dies, to actually give a shit and be like, oh man, this is good. This is actually this works.
The bomber girl,
yeah. Like you actually care a little bit, even though you don't know anything about her, and it's like it works. It's good.
Yeah, and I like that twist of him just fucking destroying like all their ships just to sink that one.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool because it was like that Princess Leia was all like, "What the fuck you doing, you dipshit?"
Mm-hmm.
So she's kind of calling him out, and then so then that kind of pulls it in, and I think from there maybe we like cut to finally at the Luke and Rey on the island.
Yes.
And like the big
where we left off.
Yeah, because everybody was like, "Oh, it picks up right off." So I was thinking like it's gonna pick up right as the lightsaber.
My father's lightsaber.
Yeah, like he's gonna cry or something, fucking start sobbing on her. So like, oh my god, what's wrong with Luke? But and again they take the humor angle, which was definitely had me chuckling, where he tosses the lightsaber. Of course, obviously we're spoiling the shit out of this, but I think we already said that, right?
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen it, you should stop.
He chucks the lightsaber like, which is great, but in hindsight, I'm kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of the first like sight of like Luke in particular. He's weird in this movie. I don't know. He was like Mark Hamill did fucking great with the role, but like just what they're telling him to do or whatever. I'm like a little conflicted. Even I've seen it twice now, and I'm like, parts of it I love, and parts I'm kind of like, I don't know if that fits with the old movies. Like it seems like kind of like Han was just fucking Han, and he nailed it. You know, it was like that was just crazy old Han bumbling through everything, but like. Seems like a lot of this and that, but I mean, Luke was always kind of, because like we saw the full dynamic of Luke through the old trilogy. It was like just goofy kid, like I could take out the whole universe by myself. Yeah, and then he's just like the clear like idiot in Empire that isn't ready yet, but still cool. But then like, and then he's like the overly perfect Jedi in Return of the Jedi. But then like seeing him kind of go back to this like. He's almost like how he was in Empire in this, where he's just going like he's just like all over the place. Or he's like, "Oh, Kurt," he throws his lightsaber. It's like that seems a little too far out of context.
I do like about Luke in this that, I mean, like I felt like maybe the point was that Luke was never particularly a great Jedi. Like it wasn't that he was so very strong in the Force, so much as it was he was the one who was a strong enough person to and had enough insight to see the truth about Darth Vader and to make those choices, to be able to be able to say or to be the guy who would not turn to the dark side and who could see that Darth Vader could be turned to the light side,
right,
and that sort of thing. Like his real power was maybe not so much. I mean, he was a Jedi,
super strong,
but he was not this fantastic. He wasn't Anakin. He's not Rey.
No Mace Windu.
Yeah, exactly. Because like when Rey and he kind of get in a confrontation, he holds his own, but he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, he's an old man too. But.
Who hasn't been practicing the Force, he's cut himself off from the Force. Like I like the idea, or I like the character as he says it in the movies. Like things don't always turn out the way you think. It doesn't turn out the way you think it will.
He's just kind of this broken teacher.
Yeah, and I do like that. I think that you could make an argument, and maybe the more interesting movie would be to show us how he got there. Yeah. But the ship has maybe kind of sailed on that.
Yeah. They'll probably redo that at some point, like in between. Yeah, it does make sense, because it's like, and I kept liking it in the angle of like, he's kind of on par where Yoda was when he encountered Yoda for the first time, where he was kind of goofy too, and like, well, whatever, I'm fucking around and eating your lunch, and you'd think like,
give me your space stick lunch.
Knowing the full story, that doesn't really make sense either,
right?
Like if you watch all the prequels or whatever, and like knowing that like the fucking whole universe is in the hands of this idiot kid, and he's finally showed up for his training. Yoda wouldn't be like just fucking around with R2-D2 and be like, oh! He'd be a little more, finally, you're here, let's begin,
Because you're already like 15 years behind.
Let's go. Yeah, you might want to like jump on your training or something. And he was kind of the same way, he's like, well, whatever, throwing the lightsaber and be like, tickling her when she, that scene, jumping ahead of like when they actually do agree to do some training, and that was a cute scene, but it's just goofy too. Like when he's like, reach your hands out and feel the Force, and he's like, I got you, kind of thing. Yeah. She's like, what the fuck?
Or it's like just stupidly goofy.
Yeah, it's like my initial reaction is like, what the fuck? Like just thinking of like Luke from like Return of the Jedi, up was this overly serious Jedi, but like, Yoda was a dipshit too. So it was like kind of fits that maybe, but I don't know. Yeah, so I'm kind of back and forth, but I feel like Mark Hamill on the whole did great. It was
I think he did
cool to see him doing Luke again, and and so many like great little Lukeisms and stuff. And he's like, I don't know, just like this little snaps where you just hearing that voice saying a few lines, or just like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I think maybe he just wasn't quite as an endearing character as Han, so maybe that's, as much as everybody loved Luke and he was kind of the main star of the old ones, you kind of always. I
feel like a lot of people sort of feel betrayed by it, in that, like, if you saw the original Star Wars movies and then the prequels and then Force Awakens, like Force Awakens sets up certain things. Yeah. And the experience of seeing the previous 6 movies, like, there's a cyclical nature to it. Yeah. Of this, so and so is going to balance the Force, and that things are significant. Like, it's never in Star Wars that the unimportant person, becomes important by virtue of just their own deeds. It's that the Force is great and it's predestined, and that you're so and so's daughter or husband or whatever, son. And I think like, it didn't pay off on those, but I think it's an interesting choice, and perhaps one that will pay off in the next movie, to say, you know what, sometimes people aren't special. Yeah.
Sometimes
you're just
a fucking person.
You're just a person, and the only thing that makes you special is just you, not your parents, not just you and the choices you make and the talents that you have naturally been born with.
Jumping ahead, so that's referring to Rey and
yes.
And like Kylo Ren just telling her, like, I've seen your fucking parents that you keep longing for.
Yeah. And unless we forget, there's no reason that that's necessarily true.
Yeah, and
or maybe it's only true in his perspective.
Yeah. More, it's just weird that they addressed it but didn't answer it. And that was kind of like a complaint of the movie again, but like how all the problems of Force Awakens carried into this, but didn't really get
right. They
answered.
just sort of poo-pooed them or dismissed them,
which is fine if it was going on for like 6 more movies. Which who knows? Maybe it is, but at the same time, it was like, that's a lot to just throw in the last movie because then the last movie is going to answer everything. It almost just seemed like a filler episode almost, Which
that's my major criticism of it would be like if it is kind of what I think, where like I feel like maybe it is just a movie where they are very deliberately sort of breaking that cycle of the cyclical nature of it, of everything means something and it always pays off to be a thing, this certain type of thing, and so everybody's always related, and and now they're kind of set themselves up in a position where they can take it to wherever they want to take it because they've broken that off. But I have a real problem, like if that's the main thrust of the story, I have a real problem with making a movie that essentially the conceit of it is, just wait till the next one. Yeah. Like that's like if I don't care if you're making a trilogy. I care if you made a good movie.
Yeah. That was cool, but and that's what I mean. Like it was enjoyable and I loved it, but at the same time, looking at the grand picture, that's where it loses something for me. And like you're saying, it's kind of like when you're watching, episode 8 of a 12-season series of Sopranos or something. I'm like, well, nothing really happened, but it was a good episode. Yeah. And I don't really know how to take that in Star Wars context because it seems clear that they're going to wrap it up in the next one, at least this story, right?
You would,
and then
they're supposed to.
Is that the plan? Is then they're going to do some other shit?
Because the dude who directed and I think wrote this one, Ryan Johnson. Yeah, he's sort of been given free reign over a new trilogy that is supposed to be not directly connected, in the same universe, and I would assume deals with a lot of the same sort of stuff, like the Force or the Empire and the Rebellion or whatever it is, but it could take place in the future, the past.
Right.
Jedi's not Jedi's.
Which is totally cool and fine, I'm down with that, but then it's like, well, this next one that's coming up, 9, is going to not only wrap up these 3, but like this is wrapping the whole fucking thing up. Yeah. So I mean, it's like
this is supposed
you can
to be.
I'm totally fine with ignoring the prequels, but I mean, you're at least wrapping up 6 movies. So, I mean, that's a lot to throw on.
And like people, movie. You already will watch like in sort of preparation for this. I had planned on seeing it a second time and didn't. So I just got on YouTube and watched a bunch of sort of nerd videos on it. I mean that affectionately. Yeah. And theories and reactions and overreactions and all that kind of thing. Yeah. And like a lot of people are just just like, well, the payoff is supposed to be in the third one. Like it's gonna, like, I think someone actually from Lucasfilm, like Kathleen Kennedy or Ryan Johnson or maybe J.J. Abrams. I think it might have been J.J. saying, the third one's gonna be the third one is the one that is going to draw it all together. Like not just the first 2 movies and what we sort of poo-pooed or pushed off or didn't address in this, but the prequels, the original ones,
even Jar Jar,
just everything. And it's like we're bringing it all together. Yeah. Which just like that is a lot to put on a movie, and if you can pull it off, that's cool.
And that makes sense, and that's how I kind of feel like I maybe like this one even more, knowing what the fuck is around the corner. Maybe that's the point, like maybe even like Empire is awesome in hindsight because we watched Jedi fairly close as kids right after it, so it's like. Where you're like, damn, that was like the dark one and shit. Maybe this is the one that's like, man, none of that shit made sense at the time. And then like, but it wasn't even like it didn't make sense. It was just kind of weird choices I felt with this one too. Or it was a lot of just like unexplained and like we were saying earlier, like character development and stuff. Like we didn't really get like in the second time I watched it, I was like, Poe definitely came a long way. It was almost like Poe's whole movie. I felt
he's the one who really had a character arc. It's not wholly positive because like a lot of his arc is just like you are way too confident and cocky and brash, and you got a lot of people fucking killed for no good reason. Which was
cool because there should have been that for everybody, but that was cool that they got that for him because he had so little in the first one too that it was like he's cool, whatever. He's just kind of this dude that you just kind of took like on face value,
sort of swashbuckling.
And So that was cool, like seeing that, like really, where you see that, whether you buy it or not, even, but like by the end, he was like, "No, this is," when he's the one that explains to Finn, Luke's doing this because we got to be like leaders and get the fuck out of here and stuff, and not be like the heroes and go out there battling and stuff, and so that was cool. But like, Finn was cool, and that was a whole thing in itself. And even Rey, I wish like she had just kind of developed more. Like there wasn't more training. I wish they could have just showed more of them instead of her just following him and saying no, which was cool for a couple scenes. But then it was like he didn't actually train anything. There was like one scene,
right?
And then the shit where she goes into the dark hole or whatever. Maybe they'll explain that more.
I don't know what the fuck were the mirrors supposed to be?
Yeah, like she was like, I went there to find answers, and then I didn't. It was like kind of how I felt about the whole movie.
You're damn right.
It's like, it's like the whole movie kind of is that where it got all like Labyrinth, It reminded me of Labyrinth, like the scenes where she's just like at the dance with David Bowie. It's like, wow, this is fucking wild, and like, wow, this looks great, and I'm like what the fuck does this mean?
Just nothing.
She's like, nothing, she's just like, all right, and maybe that's the point, is that there wasn't her parents behind the glass of whatever, but I mean, it wasn't even Luke, and then there was a couple of ominous things where she's like, I went into the dark hole and was expecting to see this and that, and I didn't see you anywhere, and that's where it kind of tips her off that he's been disconnected from the Force. She says, she was like, where the fuck are you? It's just like, you're supposed to be like the center of all this, and you're like, not any of it, and that was kind of the deal where he's just like, no, he's a very like schleppy through the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like, The blue milk scene, did you like that?
Yeah.
He's all in his beard.
I love that somebody somewhere in the process, like, it's very important that he squeezes a weird
out
tit.
of a weird tit and just guzzled it, dripping down his
must
beard
happen.
and shit.
Yeah, it's like,
oh,
like, God.
What the fuck? That was just like a weird one, too. And then, like, the next scene, he's like doing that weird where he spears the fish.
Yeah, what was the...
It's just like the directing and weird pacing of that. I mean, I was all for it because I was like, this is great. But then I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Is Luke just like... And that was like a great line where she's like, you can train me. I've seen your daily routine. It's not
You've got time.
That was pretty awesome.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. Like, hearing people talk about it, like, kind of makes me want to have reservations about it. But then I just kind of feel like...
It was fun, though.
It was,
that's what I mean. It was just like...
I think it was, like, if I had any sort of overall criticisms, it's too long. Mm-hmm. You could cut out or drastically reduce...
At least a half hour.
Yeah,
it was like,
almost all of the go into the casino and still achieve all this. I will say that I thought that... Benicio del Toro was sort of charismatic in his sort of weird,
cool character.
Stuttery, like he was likable even though he was a bad dude, and I think that bodes well if he shows up again. But
if we don't see him again, it was totally fucking pointless.
Yeah, it would be really surprising. So I feel like he was a likable character that came out of that, and that was good. But even that, like, you could still somehow introduce him and achieve all the same things and not go on this half-hour long journey
weird.
To
and then, like,
in the middle where it gives you time, like, it's so slow and it bogs down so much that it just gives you time to start thinking about everything you've already seen and what the hell is going on, so you don't get that sort of roller coaster ride of fun. It's
first time, like we were saying, I totally zoned out then, like the entire casino. Like, I even missed that, like, there were the kids at the end, which we'll go into later, but like they were in the, like, second time seeing, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a little more sense because that's the kids that were holding the Yoda horses or whatever the fuck they rode out on. But that, like the whole casino thing, but even just the plot of that, and which was weird because, like, I kind of, like, the Finn character still held up cool. He didn't really add any more than what he had from Force Awakens, but he was still cool, and I liked watching him. And he was funny and nice. And even Rose was like a cool character. She wasn't like exceptional, but she was fun and nice and cool or whatever. But like that whole plot line was like entirely worthless. Like even just in the story of the story, because it was like they had the ship. They were going to go get a code to like unlock the fucking tractor beam or whatever, so they could escape out of, right, into light speed,
right,
and then,
without being tracked,
right. But then that doesn't even happen, and they realize they can escape on smaller ships without being detected.
Yes.
So none of the codeness even mattered because they didn't even pull it off anyway.
I think there are some elements of this where it's like I think we've talked about this before. In the 60s, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee did Spider-Man together. They started it out with a little help from Jack Kirby, but it was really sort of Steve Ditko's art and Stan Lee's writing that made that character what it was. And they ended up breaking up, and Steve Ditko left the book because they had this villain called the Green Goblin. And it was time to kind of reveal who the Green Goblin was. Right. And Stan Lee was just like, it's got to be somebody. Like right. that's what the story demands. That's what that's what fans expect. Like that's what that's just the nature of the story telling is that has to be the case. And Steve Ditko was just adamant. He's like, no, it should just be nobody. Why would it matter? It could be anybody. It could be nobody. It like in real life, it would be nobody. And he's right. Yeah. But you're telling a story. Yeah. And stories are not real life. So, like you expect there to be that payoff. Yeah. You expect there to be that meaning or that connection.
Yeah, and it was weird because I kept kind of thinking of it in like a war movie sense because there were just many failed missions like that, and shit like that. But it didn't feel like a Rogue One failed mission. Or something was like it was like supposed to. Maybe just because I was associating it with like Star Wars shit that always does have like a tidy ending or something. Right. But at the same time, I was like, so they just really had this subplot that took away from a lot of cool shit that didn't amount to anything. Right. Poe freaked out, and then they ended up doing what they were going to do anyway, which kind of didn't really make any sense anyway. Well, you could see the ships getting out anyway. Why would you not be able to detect it? Yeah. Like watching these ships like
look, we've got cameras on this thing. There's some windows.
Like, what the fuck kind of technology do they have where they can't detect fucking giant ships flying? Yeah.
It doesn't. And there's only one there's only one planet nearby.
Yeah.
Kind of not anywhere they were going to go.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, it was weird. I mean, I was kind of fine with it, and I liked their story, because, even their story of them having to go out and do something very Rogue One style was cool. Yeah. And I liked, them going in disguise, and when they put the trash can on BB-8 was cool. And, there's a lot of cool parts with that, and him, just finally getting back in there because he knew he could. But, it just was unnecessary. And,
you could have cut out the whole... Even if you had just cut out just the going to the stupid casino planet.
Yeah, yeah.
And just done the... I can infiltrate with her and with this DJ dude. Yeah, yeah. We can get in there and turn the thing off. In Star Wars, Obi-Wan just goes over the thing and goes, Boo!
Yeah, you don't know how to fucking work this.
Yeah, you just need to brew it. That's all you need to do.
And that's all they were going to do. He was just going to go into the room and hit some buttons. And that's a great point. Because, it was like, the casino was like the first time I was like, oh, fuck, there's still a thread of prequel in this. And, it looked great technically, but there was so much CGI shit flying around. There was a couple good shots, and the whole idea was there, but it was just anytime you get into cities with Star Wars, I feel like it's over the top with the CGI and the creatures. Even the guy we were saying put the coins in BB-8 was a funny idea, but it got all of a sudden it was super prequel-y. Where he's blah, blah, blah. He was a funny little dude if you put him in some shitty puppet costume maybe, but he just looked too fucking
Then as they're
CG.
Escaping and it's they're on the sort of blown apart walker. Yeah, it just very much looked like they put the actress who played Rose and John Boyega and a puppet of BB-8 onto a green platform, and they shook it. And they're okay, now you're running. Yeah, it just looked very bouncy and stupid, and there were a number of that's very prequel-y, where it's just okay, now pretend it's really happening. Yeah. And it's
and then, maybe going back to the George Lucas defense of, I took my kid the second time, 5-year-old kid, and that was his favorite part. Yeah. So, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Are we doing that again, though? Are we just being like, well, that was for the kids, you know? And I was like, fuck the kids, man.
Yeah, like, make a good movie, and the kids will recognize that it's good.
Right. If they don't, they will eventually.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, come on, man. But, yeah, I mean, so it's like, it wasn't a huge red flag, but enough where I was just like, damn, here we go again. But, I don't know. So that was a little worrisome too, but I don't know. What do you what about Lando, man? He could have been in the casino.
He could have been in the casino. Yeah. Again, cool. I liked Benicio del Toro and his character, and I do think it would sort of stretch your believability in a way for Lando to just suddenly be there and be the guy who's screwing him over again. Right. But having said that, like, we don't know what's happened to Lando in the last however many years. Maybe he is just a bad dude.
That would have been rad if he turned on him again.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh shit! Like he's like,
you know what I got last time for helping you? Nothing.
Pulled into a fucking sarlacc.
Exactly. Bastards
hanging out with a bunch of damn Ewoks. But even the bare minimum, what if he was the dude with the flower that they never got? He was the dude they were supposed to get. Like, even if it was just one shot of him, like, rolling some dice, he's just like... Yeah! Because that was the whole point, was that they couldn't rope in the dude they were supposed to.
That's a great idea. And
that would have been great. I mean, I'm sure Billy D. Williams wouldn't have wanted a huge comeback scene to be, like, one line reading. But, I mean, maybe
he's like a billion years old.
Hey, give him a couple $100. Yeah! But, I don't know. So, yeah, it's hard to say, but, I felt like more even, like, I was fine with having it in there, but the fact that, like, it cut away from some cool shit, I thought, like, on the island, of even some more, like, deeper interactions. We had a couple scenes where Luke got a little heavy with Rey, but, like, not enough, I felt like.
Yeah.
And he didn't teach her dick. He didn't tell her anything. Like, he basically gave her some rehashed version of what Yoda told him. He's like, the Force is the shit in between us, and she's like, okay.
And like, the weird thing is, like, she already seems to know more than he does anyway.
Like, she already took down fucking the main bad dude,
and is not fazed by her lack of training. It wasn't just like a spike where her sort of abilities came to the fore. Like,
if he gets super nerdy with it, but at the same time. Yeah, I just felt like, and then even if not that, I mean, I didn't really need to see him run around with her in a backpack. But at the same time, when they go into the, like, and I'm not really big on the idea of what do you call it, reenactments in Star Wars. You know, like, I think maybe the first flashbacks in any Star Wars movie when they have, like, the Kylo Ren sleeping and he was about to fucking chop his head off in his sleep.
Yeah.
And, but that was kind of cool. But they could have, like, totally done a little more of that. Like, he was like, I detected darkness in him in the training. I mean, we're going to fucking elaborate. You were about to, like, cut off your
it
fucking
had to be pretty bad.
Nephew's head. Yeah, like, at least show a few, like, signs of him, like, stealing some other Jedi's lunch or something, you know? And it was like, you're about to fucking axe him down in his sleep just because, like, we didn't even really know why, you know? It was just like, okay. And it's like Snoke had already turned him, which already, like, further develops Snoke's power. Like, well, what the fuck was going on there, you know? And it was like,
and you didn't detect it until now.
Until you're about to. But I like that. I love that was as far as I feel like I'm going on the negatives too much. I love the talks and the push and pull between Rey and Kylo, where he, like, tapped in and they did, like, the crossover scenes and where he was able to talk to her. And I love the scene where he's, like, not wearing his shirt. She's like, could you put a towel on or something?
Your really weird high pants are freaking me out, man.
It's like your pants are pulled up.
It'd be way better if you're just naked. You're creeping me out.
Got, like, some weird Danzig body going. It's like I think he's buff, but he just seems really wide.
Sort of, kind of.
Yeah, so that was great, though. I mean, like, and I love that, like, they kind of kept him where it was, like, almost kind of Game of Thrones shit. I know you haven't really delved into that whole series where, like, even the shittiest of shitty characters can turn into a decent person. Yeah, like, a few of, like, the early on characters in Game of Thrones are like, oh, that fucker needs to die, and then, like, they just gradually start becoming cooler. And you're like, all right, well, they've redeemed themselves, and, like, you almost, like, because that's what I was, like, going into it, I'm like, well, how the fuck, because the previews were all prepped with, like, Rey's gonna not get the training from Luke and turn to Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And he's like, but she saw him like fucking impale Han Solo. It's like, that's shitty, man. And
that's
like,
bad.
Yeah, there's no way you could justify like that. Like, and it was cool because they really did work that angle well, where they kind of like made him a little more human, or we did almost kind of see like where it was possible to turn him, like it seemed when she fucking decides to go there, it was almost like Return of the Jedi, where it's like, well, this could work, you don't know, and
where you think, I work with the college students every day, and one of the guys I work with, he was just convinced that they both would sort of reject the opposite sides. Like, okay, Luke clearly can't or won't. Yeah. And, Snoke is clearly just self-interested and evil. So we need to become our own thing, you know, and we need to reject these sort of ideas that there is a distinction between the dark and the light, and that they're not the flip sides of the same coin. And that they would end up kind of together at the end, but he was really disappointed that did not happen. Or doesn't seem to have. They seem to still have some sort of connection.
You don't really know what that's all about, but like, they'll probably still end up being siblings or some shit somehow. But like,
clones.
But yeah, that almost would have been cool. Like after because that was a huge plus scene too. I love that scene where like he's about to fucking whack Rey, and then he turns the saber on Snoke and kills him. Because I didn't have any like real thought that he was gonna like behead Rey.
No,
they'd almost prepped it like
that.
You don't know what, but at the same time, like there's no way they're gonna do that. But at the same time, it was like, what the fuck is his deal? And the fact that they were I didn't think they were going to kill Snoke, because it was like...
No, like...
Everyone, he's like the number 2 question of like, well, what the fuck is this dude's deal? Because we don't know anything about him. He wasn't even like the Emperor we kind of knew had a huge backstory, even in the old story. Even as kids, we kind of knew there was a lot to the Emperor.
He had some gravity to him. Yeah. I think that's maybe what a lot of people are pissed off about, that there's just not the kind of payoff on these assumed backstories or that show that Rey means something, or that there's some reason Snoke, and it's the opposite. Like instead, it's more like,
which is weird,
just saying, hey, you know what, Snoke, he's just a fucking dude, whatever,
and I'm normal, which was weird because a lot of people had problems with Rogue One because of that, and I was all for it because I'm like, well, all these people are gonna die. We don't need to know their backstory. Like, who cares? Not everybody in Star Wars needs to have a backstory. But like, and it didn't bother me at all in that one. But this one, it is a little like, well, this whole thing is supposed to be connected. It's a little more than like a one-off, like with Rogue One, where I'm like, cool, kill them all. It doesn't really matter, But eventually you could do young, whatever the fuck, the blind dude story running around if you want, but it's not necessary, but the idea of doing a spin-off young Snoke is just kind of like, I don't know. Like, why bother at this point if he was just that big of an idiot that didn't realize that Kylo Ren was about to cut him in half.
Unless he didn't really get hacked in half.
It seemed pretty clear.
Seemed pretty definitive, but I don't know.
Up there with Darth Maul, maybe they'll put 2 robot spiders.
Or something, or it was an illusion, or it's all
that would have been pretty rad. Like if her and Kylo Ren just like pieced out on some spaceship, and like we didn't see him for the rest of the movie. Like good. That's a pretty fucking weird like cliffhanger for sure.
See, I think that they could have, even if they did everything the same except for that, like they just sort of whoosh, okay, we're gone, and Chewie had to go save everybody and pick him up, and then fucking you don't know what's happened. I think people would have a better opinion of it. But I just think people feel like we didn't get any of the stuff that the first movie promised us, and even if we didn't like how it turned out, like I think that there's a feeling that, like, to say for her parents to be nobodies and for Snoke to essentially amount to nothing are cop-outs, like like you
yeah,
just say it. You don't even show it. You just say, well, they're nobody.
Yeah,
and that's bullshit. Like what?
And that was the only thing was like you would think he is just full on fucking with her, but she says it. Like I didn't catch it the second time I watched it, where he says, "You know the truth," and she's like, "Yeah, they're nobody." She says it first, I think, and he's like, "Yeah, they are nobodies." But then it is kind of like, well, we saw him like leaving the planet in the other one in the flashback. Mm-hmm. So they weren't dead in a ditch or whatever he says. I think he says something like they're just dead drunkards in a ditch. Or
maybe that's what they became, but that's not what they were.
So I mean, it seems like there's a bullshit factor going on, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad. I would be silly if she's Obi-Wan's kid. It'd be silly if she's Luke's daughter. It'd be stupid if she's like Kylo Ren's sister. And none of it really makes sense. But maybe Leia had like a thing on the side.
Maybe.
Bam! They always had a connection. It seemed like she got along.
Maybe Leia and Luke.
Ooh. they always got along good. A little too good. Speaking of which, how do you feel like they handled her? That was that was the other weird twist going into the whole movie. I just kept waiting for her to die.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
You're like, well, something's got to happen.
15 minutes, they blow her up. They literally blow her up. I'm like, well, this is it.
It's like, she gets sucked out into space, and then she doesn't die like everybody else does.
Gets icy and flies back like Superman.
Yes.
The arm movement may have been a little bit much.
Yes, I think that. But though the arm movement is kind of like what Luke would do to get his lightsaber, so maybe it's what you would do to pull yourself there. Totally. I feel like the fact she can do it is not all that big of a deal. Like, I think the way they chose to show her doing it is what people are kind of like.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, like you could
have her fucking hanging on the thing, and then shoot it like to turn to ice, and then on ice, and
or just show her like in the vacuum of space and
just go like some kind of weird
something like. But the sort of like flying there thing
seems
that's hard to
and then the fact that they put her in a coma too. I was like, you have so many like outs. That's so weird though. Like they could have just. It would have been weird to kill her that early in the movie. Like, just knowing that she's not going to be in the next one and she's dead.
Right.
It's like, you would think that maybe they would just have to cut their losses and be like, fuck, it was cool to have her in the whole movie, but maybe we should just kill her in the scene that we actually killed her.
Yeah.
Like, or at least just have her die in a coma or something at the end of one of the things.
Or have her be the one who smashes the ship into the other ship.
Could have worked that for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way. I thought for sure they would spin something, so they must have some plan.
You would think.
Like,
I mean, like they filmed a whole lot more, and they just pushed some of it to the second movie.
Gotta be.
Or
I
third
kind
movie.
of wonder too with the weird pacing and feel. I wonder how much might be some
where they're just shifting things around.
Yeah, where they kind of had to like mix up some storylines and shuffle some shit. Because I mean, the way they had it going, maybe like the whole third movie was going to be based on Princess Leia. I mean, because it was like Han, Luke. The third one might all be Leia, and they're just like, "Fuck, what are we gonna do?" You know? And it's like,
but I read somewhere, and it's on the internet, so who knows how true it is. But like, if Lucasfilm is to be believed, then. Like, there is no sort of master plan. Like, the Marvel movies have a master plan where they're like, we need to get to this point. And you can tell your story, and it can be whatever story you want, but it has to fit in the journey to this point, which means you're going to have to seed in a few things.
Yeah.
And sometimes directors don't like that so much, and it doesn't go well, and someone else has to direct the movie instead. But whatever, you know, like, you can make your movie, but we have this place we're going, and you got to get there. Help us get there.
Yeah.
And supposedly, like, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, they don't have that for these. Like, supposedly... Like, J.J. Abrams made his film to set things up, to sort of kick it off. And he had no intention of directing a third one or a second one.
Nuts.
And then the next guy just took those pieces and said, all right, what's the next thing? What are we doing?
Oh, man, that's not good, man. I thought for sure they'd
I find it hard to believe that they're not, like...
At least have the ending.
Yeah, like, we know we have these characters, and this is where we want to get. Let's get there. Yeah. But, I mean,
yeah, I can't imagine
if they're being honest,
sign on for 3 more movies and not like have the fucking ending at least.
Yeah, and not just know, okay.
But maybe they don't have the middle, and that kind of explains why this did feel
maybe so
stretched. And
I kind of like the idea that maybe the prophecy of, this is, one to balance the Force and like, because that shit, first it was going to be Anakin, and then it was going to be Luke Skywalker, and then it was going to be Darth Vader when Luke Skywalker brought him back from the dark side, and and I like the idea that maybe that's just a false conception based on, or a false prophecy based on a bad conception that there is a dark side and a light side, and
they definitely steered away from all of that. Like, we're just kind of pissing on the whole.
But then where do you go from there? Like, you have to
that
go
was
somewhere.
Weird. Where like
there.
the second time seeing it too, I picked up a lot more on like the idea that it was the rebellion is the big thing, which is weird. And
which is
like
spinning out of Rogue One makes some sense, but it's not.
In a sense, it just goes so full circle that you're just like. Oh yeah, well, we already fucking did this.
Right.
And the rebellion already like toppled the government, and like how many governments?
And they've got the whole middle scene, which is very clearly just sort of about war profiteering and the elite profiting from one side being pitted against the other, which has very clear parallels to what's going on in the world today.
True and honest.
And
but
DJ, Benicio del Toro's character is very clear about. He's like, these people are still going to be making money off of you and me, and still be happy for people to die. So it's like that part of it's very kind of overt and real and stuff. Yeah. But that's like, again, like spinning out of Rogue One and what happened there, it makes some sense, I guess.
Yeah.
But it does not, like, Rogue One is a standalone movie attached to the franchise. It's not the franchise. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the whole thing to spin that direction. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool when it's more real, but at the same time, I don't know if that's really what we need to be the glue to hold the whole fucking thing together. Because it is like, because they seem to totally be headed that way. Where like the kids thing was weird. Like I thought, like because there's even a great ending shot of all of them on the Falcon. All 12 people left in the Resistance.
Right. Yeah, the very small.
And
handful.
it even like pans out, and they're like, haha, and it seems kind of like one of those cheesy, almost like End of the Empire stories, or like the Ewok scene or some shit.
Yeah.
Where they're all just kind of sitting together for whatever the fuck reason, and like. Boom, just end it there. But then it like panned out to the kids in the fucking casino, and they're like, and that's where it got all prequely again. Or it's like, I'm a little Force boy that knows how to do the Force. But I think what they were getting at, like the first time I saw, I was like, oh, that was the fucking worst ending I've ever seen. I was like, it's like, what? Is it just because he gets a magic ring he can? I'm like, oh no, wait, that was just her ring, and he already had the Force or whatever. But I think it's showing that there's more of a rebellion out there, because like the whole thing of like nobody cares anymore, nobody comes to rescue them,
right?
But then it's like, well, maybe there is like a whole new generation of rebels, and they made like a good point of like saying it's not a resistance anymore, we're the rebels again, or the rebels against them. But it's so full circle. It's like, we already saw this.
And then how do you wrap that? It took you 3 movies to tell that story last time. Like, how do you wrap that up in one movie?
Yeah, so it's like a whole rebels, or just like this little fucking 10-year-old kid's gonna grow up and take down the whole thing now. It's like, oh jeez.
Yeah. It's hard to guess where they're going to now. I do think that the movie is good on its own merits, but I think it is flawed. And one of those major flaws, I assume, having not seen the next movie, since it doesn't exist yet, they
don't even know.
Is that they're saying it's going to be good. The next one's going to be good.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's annoying.
I didn't lose faith or anything with this, even
it's a beautifully put together. Like it looks good.
We didn't talk about the salt battle enough real quick, how great that was. Way too late. I feel like that should have been sooner, because it was like there was literally parts in the movie where I'm like, oh yeah, they haven't even done the fucking salt shit yet,
with the crystal wolves.
The red stuff flying up, and those crystal dogs and shit, it looked great. And Henson, my kid, was all like, those dogs should have been in there more. They were awesome. I was like, I agree, they were rad. But they kind of saved the day, though. They knew the way out. But
the weird part is that the Millennium Falcon comes flying down, and they see the crystal woofy dogs coming out, and they're like, there they are. You're like, no, it's not them. That's the dogs. How do you know that that's where they are? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
It was cool that she rescued the way Han did, but there is some like weird like, So she left Kylo Ren after that whole implosion of the ship, got on the Falcon somehow, flew to the thing with them, then just kind of like, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but it's a little bit of a stretch. But anyway, like the whole like salt battle was just a fucking cool spin on like Hoth maybe, and like I don't know if that dude really needed to lick it and say that it's salt. I think we got it. He was like,
and plus,
whole fucking planet's made out of salt.
Who in their right mind is like, oh, that's weird. I'm going to taste it.
I'm going to taste this.
I was going to taste it. And the dude next to him was like, the fuck are
he
you doing?
did give him a lick. That was good. He was like, what the fuck are you licking?
That dude is the dude who directed Rogue One.
Oh, right.
The dude next to him, not the salt licker.
Yeah, cool, man. I love that dude. He's my hero.
Gareth Edwards, maybe.
They should get him to do the fucking next one. That guy direct the shit out of a movie.
But what do you think? Okay, given that Luke is very adamant that the Jedi needs to end, just the whole thing is bullshit, and they've all failed, and that he should be the last one. Do you think, because it's not explicitly said, that him showing up to fight for the resistance against Kylo Ren at the end, is that an admission that he was wrong and that the Jedi should go on, or is it an acceptance of the fact that they will go on, regardless of what he thinks? It doesn't make it clear.
Yeah,
like is he saying,
like "Oh,
Rey has changed my mind," or is he like, "Oh, Rey's going to do it anyway"?
Yeah. I think ultimately, my opinion and. Could just be, I think that they're leaning more towards it's going to happen whether we like it or not. I think that's what Yoda was going on, and that's another thing we need to address. But like,
Yoda was in it. There's a big spoiler.
It's like, because he showed up goofy Yoda too, which is like we haven't seen since 1981 or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But so that was cool. And on that note, like crazy, the first shot of Yoda looked ridiculously CG and stupid. And I was like, oh, but then it went to like the most
like real puppety Yoda.
Yeah, and I haven't looked it up. Hopefully, maybe I'm wrong, and they just tricked me on both sides of it. But he seemed super puppety and like
I think it must be a real puppet.
Yeah,
at least parts of it.
Yeah, the middle, like, but it was weird. Like that initial shot, he was like,
where you're just like, I think they might have overlaid some CG on him to make him look ghosty.
Yeah,
and instead of however they did it before.
Yeah, he's showing up ghost Yoda, and then he turns a little more real. But yeah, once he gets like yucking up about like fuck the books,
yeah,
you didn't even read them anyway. That's he calls them out. That's like rad. Yeah, he's like burn the shit, or like Luke didn't even burn it, and then he makes a lightning bolt hit it and burn it.
And he does make a point of saying that failure. What is it? Failure is the
best learning,
is
or
the
something like that.
Best way to learn, or whatever.
However Yoda said.
And then everybody kind of proceeds to fail.
Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of cool, and I think, and that was like cool because that was like the first awakening of real Luke. I felt like, because he had that same kind of, which in a sense is kind of annoying because he goes back to being idiot Luke from Empire, and he's like, oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's why.
Like, yep,
size matters not. Yeah, and he's just like, oh Jesus, is he already back here? But then he like steps it up, and then the last scene is total like Return of the Jedi Luke, where he comes out winking at C-3PO and shit.
Yeah.
He's like, I got this shit. And he's all cocky Luke. But yeah, I think that's what they were going for ultimately, was that it's going to go on whether he wants it to or not.
Yeah.
Or she's her own thing. They might still.
And it makes no promises. She could
just be some weird
Snokean
wizard of whatever. Because even like Palpatine and shit, like they never full on said he was like full on Force. Maybe that was like the whole weird. He's just like more of a weird wizard or some shit. I don't know if they really addressed all that stuff, but so that's cool. But I thought the scene was great, and the fact that like he gets blasted by 15 AT-ATs and like doesn't die. I'm like, how are they spinning this shit? I was like, oh man, are they just making him some like Uber Jedi now or something? But like that was pretty cool that he like just was like the hologram.
Force projected, or
didn't like the fucking crouching tiger dodge of the first lightsaber swing.
You weren't into that,
Nah, that was stupid. I was like, come on, man, that's never happened in a Star Wars movie. Why would they just do that now? It's like, I know he's a geezer, but just make him fucking dodge it. It's like he doesn't have to be like whoosh. ducking under the lightsaber. I was like, come on. But like every scene after that was great, and just the shit that he was talking back and forth with Kylo Ren was awesome. It's like everything you've said is wrong. He's just like, "What?" Just seeing this kid get like gradually more pissed off and wanting to kill him. And slight sidetrack revelation I had the other day, thinking way too much about Star Wars, was all of this still like explains why he's pissed at Luke, but doesn't really explain why the hell Kylo Ren hated his dad so much. Why the fuck would you kill your own father, who's the coolest dude in the galaxy?
Yeah.
Just because your teacher was a dick. I mean, granted, he may have sent him off to like boarding school kind of thing, but it wasn't
I think at this point, if you're that far down the dark side path, it's not even like he clearly doesn't hate his mom.
Yeah,
because he still doesn't want to kill her.
That's
he didn't seem to want to kill his dad, but it's just like the thing he's supposed to do.
Like they could have easily just like kind of like hinted at something that would have been like a remote reason why you would just impale your own father with a lightsaber. I mean, that was pretty harsh. It's
like he was an absentee dad, even if he was a good guy or something.
Yeah, he never even was like, you were never there for me. You sent me off to that Jedi shit school on that island with that prick. I mean, that's all he had to really say.
Yeah.
It would have been like some military school shit or something, but like, never really got addressed. It's a little weird. Yeah. But I love that Luke fucking showed it to him bitch school style. I was like, I'm not even here.
That's right.
And they snuck out, and that was a great ending with like Rey moving the rocks. And, and like she is like, it is about fucking moving rocks.
Yeah. And they do a good job within that movie of sort of tying things or calling back, you know, saying, it is sometimes just about moving rocks, you know, and those sorts of things, like I think.
Further proving that Luke was wrong about it's like he's the worst teacher.
Yeah. And I almost kind of like, I sort of liked this sort of Luke was never that great at it, maybe. Like, maybe he was just the last one who had been trained at all, but his training was incomplete.
Even shorter than Rey's, maybe.
You know, it's no wonder he ended up being a hermit somewhere, because all he knew was Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, who were hermits, and he didn't train for any length of time.
Because we've pondered that in past Star Wars episodes, it was like, well, how long was he really training with Yoda?
It could be like
a day, like literally like less than 24 hours.
We're done. Yeah.
It's like he did some flips with a backpack. And
he's clearly maybe super talented in the Force, but he didn't get a lot of training. Yeah. And, you know, we don't have a lot to compare it to, you know, at that point. So,
maybe,
who knows?
Of course he's going to be the shittiest teacher.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I kind of like the idea of Luke just being like, this is just all a failure.
Do you have any sympathy for Kylo Ren then? Like, what do you think? Do you think he's possible of turning back now?
I don't know how you redeem I killed my dad.
Yeah.
And
like, that was bad, and then the fact that he snapped so much and worked that hard to kill Luke.
Exactly.
Some serious shit.
And like he's just sliced somebody in half in order to take over the Empire or the First Order. I mean, like it I don't know. I mean, like, but they redeemed Darth Vader. Yeah. You know, it was in death. True. So like I don't.
That's some father-son shit.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to reveal some big like brother-sister shit or something with Rey.
I really kind of hoped that. I think going into it, I don't even know I was aware of this until after watching it. I think going into it, I kind of hoped that Rey would like legitimately kind of fall to the dark side in the course of the film and do some bad shit, but still be redeemable and ultimately be redeemed.
Yeah.
Because Luke had rejected her or the whole thing, and she had nowhere else to turn.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's not what happened.
Yeah,
so, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it really could have been an interesting thing, like you're saying, taking the gray more like they hyped, or they just kind of both pieced out and then started up their own thing, like where it wasn't that initially awful. You know, like we didn't know if she was going full dark, and you didn't know if he was going full light, but like, and then gradually you can make it obviously just wrap up by one of them freaking out too far, you know, and then she bounces it out, but yeah, it's not. So it was kind of weird because they took like huge risk, and it was cool because it was different. But at the same time, it wasn't like drastically different in anywhere. You're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, yeah, even like the cliffhangerness of this, I don't really feel like going into the next movie, I'm not like, oh, what the fuck is gonna happen?
Yeah, and I'm sure that over the course of the next however many years, 2 years before the next one comes out or whatever, there'll be plenty of theories and just like there were before. But there's not a lot to hang your hat on as far as who's
cliffhangers,
who's Rey's parents.
That sort
there's
of
like
no
cliffhanger. Everyone was waiting
That's
for.
What was weird because it's like it left on a down note in a sense of Empire, but there's no cliffhanger.
Right.
It's like, well, she's just clearly not gonna be bad, and Kylo Ren's bad. Snoke doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Her parents don't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you could make it cool, and it's just like, is there going to be a rebellion or not?
Yeah, Hux is not a threat.
Yeah, he's a fucking, who cares? Yeah, it's weird. It just kind of ends, and you're just like, I don't know. Like, those rebel kids. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, like, presumably the next movie's not going to jump 10 years in the future.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, and maybe it will. It'd probably be cooler if they do pass some more
yeah.
time. Maybe that would be awesome if we get, like... But I think they're shooting them pretty quick, right? I think it's
and I mean, you could age people up, or, you could say, 10 years down the road, they look kind of the same. I mean, 2 years.
Not even 5 years.
Or 10 years or whatever. That, okay.
Even this one, there was, like, the opening crawl is all, like, shit has gotten bad the whole way. I'm like, whoa, didn't they just like blow up their whole dumb planet? And like, it's like, seemed like things were going pretty good by the end of the
apparently not.
It's like,
I think even after the events of the first one, where he kills his dad, where Han Solo gets killed by Kylo Ren, I think he was still redeemable in this movie. Like, I think he could have been...
more so in this than after killing Han.
Right, exactly. Because I feel like you could open this one up and he's got enough conflict that he starts to realize he's done this awful thing, and that awful thing, it becomes the sort of spark that forces him to realize he shouldn't be going down this path. So that Han's sacrifice maybe actually means something. And other than the milestone on the path down where Snoke wants him to go.
Right.
But now at this point, it just seems like he's pretty committed.
Just being a prick and killing everybody. Yeah, but you wonder how much of his pissed off is just wanting to kill Luke. Where does it go beyond that? I mean, does he really want to rule the galaxy?
I mean, obviously, I would think Mark Hamill will be in the next movie as a Force Ghost. So you've really, how much does he really understand about because he could just be tortured by Luke's ghost for eternity. I mean, it could just never end.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very hard to you left the Force Awakens with some ideas about some mysteries you wanted answers to, most of which you didn't really get answers to, or were not satisfactory, or were kind of half answers, or vague, or open ended, or could easily be reversed. So you don't feel like you got any answers, or what you got wasn't very satisfying, and you had a feeling like you could anticipate some things that were going to happen. You could stew on these sort of plot points of The Force Awakens and wonder what was going to happen in The Last Jedi. And this one doesn't leave you with a lot.
I don't know what the fuck's
where you're just like, I don't know. And I do like...
It's kind of cool, because I don't know what the fuck's going to happen in the next one, and it was...
And I think this, as an individual movie, has its own merits and is pretty good. But as a Star Wars movie, as a part of a trilogy, I think it's not entirely satisfying.
Yeah.
I can see those complaints and stuff.
Yeah.
I understand that. I don't understand the people signing a petition to get rid of the movie and say it's not canon. It makes no sense.
That's stupid. It's did you see the prequels?
You might be too into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably, if I was doing the stupid rating of all the original ones, however you rate them, probably Empire, Jedi, I don't know, maybe A New Hope's higher than Jedi now, whatever, those three, and then Force Awakens I might even on the certain day put it in with the originals. This one I'd put at the bottom of those. I loved it, and I'm still glad that it's made and shit, but leaps and bounds better than the prequels. I don't even know, maybe Rogue One I kind of liked more just because it was such a weird spin-off story, But yeah, I mean, I don't really have any real gripes with it, but I would probably put it at the bottom. It's like a new
it's at the
album
at the bottom of
I'm glad
the
it
still
exists,
good ones.
I don't really,
because the prequels are legitimately just bad.
Yeah, but I don't think it toppled any of the old ones.
No,
as far as my
to me, it's maybe on par with Rogue One.
Yeah, you weren't crazy about Rogue One.
No, and I'm not crazy again. I would honestly say, I mean, I would give this a solid 4 out of 5 ish.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that I love it. Like, I don't think, like, you know, I'm probably somewhere in the middle. So I think, like, critics, Rotten Tomatoes is like, oh, it's a 90-some% fresh, or it's great.
Well, it's weird
and then you get a lot of fans who hate it. I would be like right around like the 80% range. Like, I think it was really good. I enjoyed it. I am intrigued by it. I want to see how they pay it off. It does. My criticism would be it's too long. You could have cut some chunks out very easily and still told the same story, and that's bothersome. Like, you shouldn't become aware of your own ass when you're in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, when you have time to start reflecting on the fact that your ass is getting numb, or that you need to pee, or what you just saw while you're waiting for it to pick up again, it's too long.
And I think it is because they did, like what KC was saying earlier, where it's just so up and down, up and down, up and down. And it was just like, and just knowing from the previews that they hadn't even gotten to like the salt battle yet or whatever. I'm just like,
and you know, at that point you're like, Jesus Christ, it's gonna be like 20 more minutes at
like,
least.
Where is this going? Yeah, it's like all in favor of it just going forever. You know, it's like a Cure show. Where I'm like, I'm not complaining. I don't want it to end, but it's just like, what the fuck? Really? Is there like a whole nother act that's coming?
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
there's so many points where you could easily just cut out sort of fluff and filler and tell the same story. And, you know, maybe you need to do a little better writing so that everybody kind of gets a moment.
Yeah, and that was another kind of thing where it was like, and it's impossible to do because you have so many likable characters, but like, I felt Force Awakens did great with that, where you got a little, like, a good amount of Chewie, you got some C-3PO shit, and like
you didn't get
even
to see...
Leia was like hardly in it, but like it delivered when she was. But like I felt like everybody, even like the R2 scene was great, but it was like one fucking scene. He like popped in, he was like, "Oh, that was a low blow," like showing the old video or whatever. And and it was cool because he was like there, but then it was like we didn't see anything else, and even like Chewie had like a couple like good scenes early on, but then it was like nothing. Like 3PO, like they didn't, again, like, not that they really need to go into his red arm or anything, but it's just like another thing that just like was totally swept under the... It's like, what? Like, everybody made like a big deal about his fucking red arm.
He's a robot, you can change it, who cares?
Who cares? But I mean, and that's kind of cool too, but it like...
But like, why bother? Like, I think, like, and I do think...
And then even just working in, like, Laura Dern and shit, like, you could have just had that be Leia or something. Yeah, it didn't really... And even Benicio, like we're saying, or it could have been Lando, it could have been fucking Nolan. You know, I mean, it's a cool character. Even Rose, like I
maybe
I
he
didn't have any
comes back
gripes
and
with
plays
her,
a part,
but it was like she would like her storyline was just kind of pointless. But I mean, she's a cool character. Just being another like person that's in the fucking Resistance was cool, but it was just kind of like, I don't know.
And when you don't have kind of enough screen time for everybody, that you could kind of give everybody something to do within, say, 2 hours instead of 2.5 or more. You know, maybe you didn't need to introduce some new characters. You know, maybe that wasn't.
At least have fucking Luke say some more shit that makes a little more sense, even like, you know, it's like,
or just like if you had just paid off like successfully and satisfactorily on just any one of those things, like Luke really explains his position and what he's learned about the Force.
Yeah, or at least some more thorough flashbacks of like where it went wrong.
Or,
with Kylo,
you know, Rey's parentage is revealed, and maybe it's not what all these people thought, but it sort of somehow satisfies that itch to have it mean something.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you see more about what led Kylo, or more of who Snoke was, or Snoke ends up being more relevant than just getting hacked in half.
Yeah.
You know, while he's screaming like an idiot on a throne. You know, I mean, like, you just, like, any of those things, I think, would have been more satisfactory to people. But it's not the movie we got. So.
It is. I think it's cool. Yeah, it's tough because it always sounds like you're griping when you pick things apart, but at the same time, it's like, oh, it's fun.
Here's a question I wanted to ask you while we were talking about this. Who do you think, having seen 2 of these new movies, who is the Han Solo of the new movies?
I've got 2 answers off the top of my head. The first one was what I was worried about. I was like, anytime I don't love a Star Wars movie, it's because there isn't a Han Solo. And I think maybe it goes back to that again. Like, I just fucking love... He's just a great character.
He's cool,
He's fucking awesome. Even if he's Geezer Han, it was like that saved Force Awakens in a way, you know? Like, just seeing old Han in there, and I kind of worried with that in hindsight. Right before seeing this, I was like, well, we all kind of knew that's kind of why the prequels sucked, because there was no like fun, cool dude. They're all just like, uptight Jedis. But I mean, amongst a billion other problems with those movies. but then like Rogue One kind of steered me away from it. I was like, well, I really like that movie, but even like Cassian or whatever,
he's kind of Han-ish.
Yeah, and like I'm like, oh, they can get by this. And even like just seeing a movie that really focused on Luke was enough. I think we even talked about that until it steered me off of like, well, we don't need a full Han. We got Finn cracking some jokes and Poe crack enough jokes or whatever that we don't need it. But then I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe in hindsight now of seeing the new one, I'm like, maybe it did need Han.
Yeah.
But I guess the closest thing would be a combo of Finn and Poe.
Yeah.
Like they both kind of
I kind of expect them both to be Han, and neither one really quite does it in either film.
Because neither of them are like...
Which leaves sort of Finn kind of, you end up feeling like he doesn't have a lot to do. Like, I expected him to maybe also be Force sensitive, or he would kind of become a more swashbuckling kind of a guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's cool. He's a great character. But yeah, I was kind of going with that negative of just character development. Like, he didn't go anywhere. He was the exact same character.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of had a thing with Rose, I guess. I don't know if that's even...
Sort of.
It's kind of like how he had a thing with Rey. You don't really even know.
Yeah.
Like, is he just really passionate about his friendships, or does he, like, really love them, or what's going on?
I do like about Finn that he seems to be progressing. Like, in the first one, he just wants to get away. Like, he just is totally self-interested. In this one, the reason he wants to run away is not for himself, it's for Rey. So he is changing, he's growing as his motivations are different. It was kind of
just for Rey.
But it's still essentially the same thing. Yeah. You know? And
even by the end of this one now, he was all like ready to die for the Resistance by the end by flying into the cannon, and he didn't do it because Rose knocked him out.
Yeah.
But I mean...
I will say they did construct a movie. I really thought... He might just do it. Yeah.
Well, I thought, because the storyline he had was so pointless.
Yeah.
I was like, well, if they didn't kill him off, it wouldn't really be the end of the world.
Yeah.
It would suck because he is a cool dude and all, but I was like, I was kind of on that road, so I was like, well, they might pull a Game of Thrones here and whack like a major character. That'd be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit. Also, along those lines, which is worth noting, the worthlessness of Captain Plasma. And,
oh my god!
And like whatever that other dipshit stormtrooper is that initially comes in. That like I even zoned out the second time watching it. It was like the whole like ship, like they're about to get executed, and then Laura Dern does the kamikaze, and all the shit goes down, and then like he just kills the stormtrooper. But then they're like, fuck. Because they even do like the James Bond thing where Captain Plasma, which I know isn't officially Captain Plasma, but I'm going to call her Captain Plasma.
Might as well. It doesn't matter.
She's like, executing them with blasters is too good. Let's torture them. Or something. I mean, they do like
let's
dip them into the shark pit with laser beams. I was like, just fucking kill them.
Yeah, just be done. You idiots.
And then it was like they end up in some dumb duel, and he knocks her into the fire pit, and then she just fucking dies. I was like,
she'll come back, like because she should have been dead last time.
I was like, what the fuck? Why? It's like the most irrelevant fucking character.
Like they just made this really flashy looking character that serves no purpose.
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? I mean, like there's this whole backstory.
That's another one. Yeah, like shouldn't we have like some kind of backstory?
Yeah.
Shouldn't she somehow be relevant?
All she had to say was like, "You were our most promising stormtrooper. Why would you do this?" You know, I mean, something to just like kind of
just anything. You were never anybody. How could you be doing this?
I raised you like a child.
Yeah.
It was just like,
I let you suckle my toe.
It's like no.
Just
fucking. He's like, I always hated you. Knocked her into the fucking fire hole.
Maybe it's, you know, in some way The Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams has sort of set up, you know, like, because I think sort of Bad Robot J.J. Abrams, and I've said this I think before on the podcast, he's really good at setting up these sort of mysteries and things, but not so good at paying them off. Like the what was it that Jennifer Garner was in? Alias. You know, Lost. It just sort of lost its energy, its momentum. You know, Lost kind of crapped out. And maybe he just set up all these mysteries with the assumption that the next movie would then have something to play with. and Ryan Johnson was just like, I don't need this shit. I don't want to finish your fucking mysteries that you didn't have a fucking answer for. You just put them in there to distract people from the fact, it's all just sort of like smoke and mirrors. Like, hey, there's a thing over here. Yeah. There's a thing over here.
It's all some petty work shit where they're just like, don't pawn your shit off on me.
Exactly. Like, maybe he's just like, don't ask me to write you out of a fucking hole. I don't give a shit about your mysteries you put in that really had nothing to do with your plot. So maybe it's something like that where it's just like we have all these expectations based on the first movie that this movie was beholden to and didn't want to be. Which doesn't really, then don't write and direct the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So it would have something to do with it. Yeah, that's why I'm glad that it's gone back to JJ now, because it's like, all right, well, let's see where the fuck this is going.
Hopefully he had some ideas about what the satisfactory answers were. Because I don't think anything that happened in this movie
took away from anything.
Like, he could still do exactly the same. All you have to do is say, your readings of the future and the past are not 100% accurate, or Kylo Ren's a lying asshole, or he misunderstood, or whatever it is.
I think that probably is the realistic way it's going to go. It's just like he kind of had the start and stop point.
Or that he had his own agenda, and it was to get you on his side. Yeah. Because he knows you're also a powerful Jedi, so he would tell you anything. He knows what he saw was what your fear was, not what the truth was. Or, whatever.
Are you referring to JJ or Kylo Ren?
Ooh. JJ Ren.
Are you on my
also,
side?
We didn't see the Knights of Ren at all.
That's another
huge those cool dudes?
Totally. That's a whole fucking story there.
I want to see that. Could be a movie.
Yeah, because they specifically even addressed it. The second time watching, I was like, yeah, that's like, because he said, then he took a handful of my pupils and killed everybody. I was like, what the fuck is going on with them? We even saw him in the flashback in the rain killing that dumb samurai guy that you can always buy the toy for.
His name's like Biff Spoodle. Some stupid made up name.
The dude got killed in the dream sequence.
Yes.
But
damn pan hat.
Because like a brother-in-law was all like, what the fuck, were they the red dudes maybe protecting Snoke? And I'm like, yeah, but they didn't really address that. And they
if that's the case, you would think there would be at least some very obvious visual,
or a nod to that, or some kind of acknowledgement. Yeah,
like their helmets were red, but they were the same designs as in the flashback, or something.
They're just better Imperial guards, basically. Like Imperial guards that actually could move. But that battle scene was great. But I don't think they were the Knights of Ren.
I don't think so. It hadn't occurred to me.
Where the fuck are the Knights of Ren?
I guess it could be. But it doesn't, like, why you wouldn't do that and make no reference to it at all
so weird.
In the story.
Like,
so
that's a huge fucking movie in itself. It's just like, damn, that's so much downtime that they could have just like zapped all the casino shit and just done like, what the fuck's going on with the Knights of Ren? And
it's like
that's his, like, spin-off team that he starts and then nobody acknowledges.
It's like a cool supervillain team and we don't get to see him.
Fuck, why did he just peace out with them and have them come on? And I don't know. Maybe it all makes sense.
It will come together somehow. The third film, Gavin, J.J. Abrams believes and wants you to believe that
can we ever just die and this be done?
No, it won't happen.
Be done?
No. I mean, maybe this portion, the Skywalker
I just
portion.
want to make the end of this and whatever they're doing next.
Which is like a weird compulsion or feeling to have because I love it.
Yeah.
And I always have in my entire life. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to be hanging on at 80 years old to find out what happens to Cade Skywalker. You know, like I don't want to do it.
You know? Totally. And even just knowing that Luke dies, it's kind of like, all right, knowing how Han dies, it's like, all right, we got to wrap this shit up tighty.
Yeah.
Make this work. And the whole Leia thing, I don't know how they're going to handle that, but that's on them. They had 6 outs in that movie. If they do something stupid in this one, they must have an idea of something we haven't thought of yet.
Maybe she'll just evaporate.
Yeah,
maybe she's a force projection.
Yeah.
She's already dead.
She's Snoke.
Oh.
It just has some like Twin Peaks ending that doesn't make any sense.
That got me like it's going to come back in the style.
What the fuck? Jar Jar's the fucking glue. He's like, I miss our scotch you. I was Snoke all along. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my god.
Join me, Kylo. We will rule the galaxy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
He's like, oh god, I can't believe I've been following you.
It's like the ultimate fuck you to everybody that's been watching it.
And George Lucas is like, yes!
Yeah. That was in the fine print.
I never sold it.
It's like, ah.
I'm the real Sith Lord.
I've got you all where I want you.
Fuck you, bitches.
Eat my dollar signs. But on that note, I don't know, I guess we'll
we're getting close to an hour and a half.
Yeah, got any final thoughts? I think that about right.
I will still, having said all that, stand by my initial reaction.
I still enjoyed the fucking thing.
It's a solid movie. I really enjoyed it. I like the arc of some characters that people. I really liked Luke. I think that Mark Hamill made it work. I am intrigued to know what happens next.
Favorite scene?
Favorite scene? Ooh. Then they're racing on that giant horse thing. That's so cool. No. Probably. I guess maybe the end of the salt planet, the crate or whatever it's called. That was like really fun. And by the time you get to that point in the movie and you know it's coming because you've seen the trailer, you're just like, God damn it, come on. So I really like that. I mean, you know, I like Laura Dern's character kind of seeming like a career politician who's just is overmatched and doesn't know what to do, but she knows what she's doing the whole time. I would like them to be a little more.
I'm not sure a lot of her motives added up. Whatever. She's like hated Poe, but then she's like, I love that boy.
Love that
I was like, what?
Bastard. I liked that Poe kind of had some learning to do. That you know, like he actually had a character arc where
for sure.
He's got to learn. You know, like you don't sacrifice the war to win the battle. And that's a, you know, I mean, everybody has to learn that at some level or another in growing up. And he's a little bit old to be still growing up, but you know, I mean, it's Star Wars, and you know, he's cocky, he's a pilot, and that I liked. So it's more like favorite arcs and favorite sort of characters
moments
and stuff.
And
but I liked seeing kind of the Jedi tree with the books. I think the books are on the Millennium Falcon, right?
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying.
Maybe that was the joke that Yoda thought was so fucking funny.
Yeah. Somebody put them on there. He's not even in there, bitch.
He's like, I've never told you the truth, Luke. Ever.
Because you're an idiot.
Apparently, in one of the novels that's supposed to be quote unquote canon, Luke or Yoda makes it clear to Obi-Wan that he doesn't want to train Luke, that he wants to train Leia. And that he never really thought Luke was the one who should be trained.
It's pretty clear now.
So maybe he just fucked him. Who knows?
I think so. Yeah, the books, apparently, I forgot to look for it the second time even watching. People were saying that they weren't, like, Ray or somebody must have put them on there.
Yeah, or one of the keepers, or the freaking milk tit.
I mean, if Yoda's talking about how the books are worthless, what the fuck is, maybe he's bullshitting too?
Yeah, who knows?
He's like, the books don't matter, what you know is in your head already. That's what he says.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, well...
Who knows? There's just so many. I would. At the end was really fun to watch, and I enjoyed that part of it, and it was exciting. And the beginning is very, very cool and exciting.
Yeah, things good to watch, and it's just like when you start nerding it up and picking things apart,
where you're just like, and I could say like the people who really, 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 really love this, you know, to the point that they had Padawan braids and you know, dress up as Jedi at Ren Fair and stuff. I mean, like who just feel like they're following some sort of Jedi code that they've gleaned from the films and stuff. You know, it would piss you off. I get that. I love it, but not in that way. Yeah. So I'm okay
not nerdy
with
enough to like complain about the gravity bombs not dropping in gravity. That was another thing.
Yeah.
I was like, who fucking cares?
Yeah,
it's
just like it's also there is no sound in space, which we at least got a little bit of in this. That was cool when it went silent for a few seconds. That was pretty cool.
I saw a thing somebody had posted. Hard to say how true it was, but they had to actually issue some kind of statement to idiots, saying at the hour and 40-minute mark, it does go silent. The sound in the movie. Don't be alarmed. You will not get a refund for your ticket for the sound.
That's weird.
And also, there was another thing, hard to say how true, but an internet finding. Bailey, sister-in-law, said that she saw that porgs were basically based off of when they were filming on that island. There were so many little penguins or some shit around that it was easier to just turn them into little creatures than to digitally get them out of the scenes. So because that's why they don't really have any real.
I don't know,
relevance.
Bailey. I don't know.
Which does make sense because they don't really do anything. They're just like little creatures that are hanging out. Yeah.
I do think he should have felt bad and just eaten it anyway.
Oh yeah, it looked fucking delicious. It was all dripping.
Yeah. Brown. He got it perfectly cooked.
And he kind of just put it down. He didn't not eat it.
He should have just been like, and then
waited till that little mopey one got out of the way.
Then just munched it, bones and all, Wookiee style.
Chucky don't care, man.
No.
Always thinking with your stomach. So, yeah, I like that. But, I don't know. I guess I'm in the same boat. I enjoyed watching it. When you pick it apart, little things like that are kind of nerd. I'm like, well, that's weird. I'll dwell on that for like a year. But, yeah, if the next one's rad, then I won't give a shit and I'll enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I think you can redeem this one a bit with the next one, but it will always be bothersome that this one depends on the third one to really be good. Like I won't ever like that.
Like Empire never felt that way or any of those other ones, But at the same time, it's cool, and I'm just so glad to have another Star Wars movie to throw on.
Yeah,
that'll be great. So it's very watchable. So definitely don't take any grapes as a full-on negative.
No. So. But that is the end of season 1 bonus episode.
Yeah, so it might be a little while before we have a whole arsenal of new episodes, but they will be action-packed and full of crazy shit. We're raising the bar for season 2.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot more stunts.
Brace yourself.
A lot of practical effects.
Some good themes.
Yep.
And until then, go see some Star Wars and let us know what you think. We may shift gears where we got, so keep an eye out on YouTube. We might go on over to YouTube, but still try to keep it popping up on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever the hell you want to call it. But, we'll make sure you can figure out where it is. If you're hearing this now, then you're on the right track.
That's right.
And check out the Facebook page and leave any comments or your opinions on The Last Jedi.
Everybody seems to have one.
Yeah, everyone's got opinions on this thing. So let us know what you think on the Facebook page, or drop us an email at thepretendpodcast@gmail.com, or, going over to Instagram at the Pretend Podcast and see what else. We'll just throw some crazy pictures up in the meantime.
Most of the people who have any chance of actually seeing this and listening to it probably will see us in person at some point. You could just talk to us about it.
Or just talk to us.
But if you are not one of those people, feel free to contact us and
we'll see you out
through
there
other means and let us know.
On the social medias. And in the off-season, we'll see you around. And let us know if you have any ideas for new topics to discuss.
Right.
Till then, enjoy this bonus episode and... Star Wars.
This is Star Wars.
Ain't gonna be my man.